Welcome everyone, and welcome to our symposium topic, where we're going to be covering should we as a society wear masks. And I am Mr. Chris Hague, and I teach 8th grade math here.
And I'm Gamze in Pultz. I'm teaching 7th grade science.
So welcome, and thank you for choosing our topic. So before we begin, we would like all of you, if you haven't done so already, to click the resources tab and select the first resource, which is a Google form, just to get a baseline understanding of where you stand on this question of why or whether we should wear face masks in general. So please do that now, pause the video, and then fill out the form and come right back. So the face mask dilemma, to wear or to not to wear, that is the question. People are not questioning the preventative effects of social distancing or washing their hands or using stuff like Propel and hand sanitizer. Yet people, especially in North America and Europe, question wearing masks, which raises the question, should people wear masks to slow the pandemic? And is it actually effective?
And in order to discuss that, we are going to discuss first what are we up against? And in this part, we are going to try to answer some questions like, why is COVID-19 so contagious and how is it spread? Here, this is how small the enemy is. That's a really good infographic. And you can see that what is 1 nanometer and how big the COVID-19 virus is. And nanometer is equal to 1 billionth of a meter. And atoms are even smaller than a nanometer. One atom measures in between 0.1 nanometer to 0.3 nanometer. And to put this into a perspective, a sheet of toilet paper, which is so precious these days, is about 100,000 nanometers thick. So imagine slicing a single ply of toilet paper 100,000 times. Another example would be your fingernails grow 1 nanometer every second. That's important. Your fingernails grow 1 nanometer every second. Keep it in your mind because we are going to ask a question related to that. The scale is, in this slide shows about how big the SARS-CoV-2 virus is. Needless to say, COVID-19 is very small. As you can see here, the average diameter is about 120 nanometers. And I said that, keep it in your mind, and now our quiz is, if your fingernails grow 1 nanometer a second, how long will it take them to grow 1 milliliter?
Write that down, and then we'll check your answers at the end.
And here you can see the SARS-CoV-2 under the microscope. The picture in this slide is a more accurate view of the internal structure of this virus. A cell is shown outlined in red here. You can see that the membrane has been shown as red, and the blue circle inside the cell is showing you the nucleus of the cell. You have all learned about it, grade 7 and grade 8. And the yellow circles here are the spherical structure of the viruses, COVID-19 viruses. And they are going to enter and embed it into the cell membrane. And once they have penetrated the membrane, the virus will attach these little black dots inside the cell, which are, yes, ribosomes. And they are going to attach the RNA structure in the ribosomes. And they are going to change the genetic makeup of the ribosomes. And what the host cell is going to become the slave of the virus at the end.
So how is this spread? Knowing that COVID-19 is so small, think about every time you sneeze. And infectious droplets from a cough or sneeze can easily travel up as far as 2 meters. In fact, even talking can spew out infectious droplets that we cannot even see or are aware of. That's why the CDC recommends that everyone wear a face mask while out and about. It's to keep people who are infected but have no symptoms, or also you might have heard the word asymptomatic, from spreading the virus further. So how can masks help? And in this section, we're going to cover what are the types of masks, what materials work best for preventing the spread of COVID-19, and who should wear masks where and when. So these are the types of masks. First off, you have to ask yourself, are you a medical profession? And chances are, if you're one of our students, you're not. So you don't need the fancy N95 or surgical masks. Those, while more effective, you don't need while walking out and about. The other two types are the two cloth masks shown on the right side of your slide. One is fancier because it's you can sew multiple layers, but if you can't sew or don't have access to a sewing machine, you can always cut your own cloth mask. So types of masks continue. Once again, surgical masks versus N95 are similar types. We have one-way protection versus two-way protection, typically used to prevent the spread of common colds and flu, versus N95, which is filters at least 95% of airborne particles, so much more comprehensive in how much it covers. Loose fitting versus sits tightly on the face, and then also surgical masks and the cloth masks are more for the general population, while we need to keep in mind that N95 or something similar are best reserved for healthcare workers and first responders.
And now our question again, should we as a society wear masks? Scientists are still debating on that. There are many researchers on masks, and there are many researchers on if the masks are preventing you from the viruses or any type of flu or not. However, the answer for this question for now is yes, we should definitely wear masks. But the important question is now is which type of mask? Generally, researchers suggest that surgical masks and N95 masks or respirators are significantly more effective. For example, in one study in 2015, they found out that cotton cloth masks only block 3% of the particles compared with medical masks, which stop 56% of the particles, and N95 masks, they are very protective and they stop almost 99% of the particles. However, healthcare workers wearing cloth masks were significantly more likely to be infected with flu-like illnesses. The study found the cloth mask only protects you, or not you, but the health workers, 3%, but it is still better than nothing. And again, which type of mask should we wear as a society? CDC recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings. For example, your family members or you may need to go to a supermarket. And in those supermarkets, you usually try to keep the social distance, but there might be the situations that you cannot keep the social distancing. That's why when you are going into public, into shopping, markets or anywhere else, you need to at least wear the cloth mask. And cloth face coverings can be created by your t-shirts or any item at your home, and they are all low cost. Another study in 2013 found that cloth masks made from cotton, t-shirt, pillowcases, or tea towels should be used only as a last resort. However, since we are in the middle of a pandemic, only health workers should use N95 or surgical masks. We as society, to leave those masks to the health workers, we need to use the cloth masks. Even though the protective rate is only 3%, it's still better than nothing.
Continuing on with the previous slide, as you can see in this graphic, and here we have the first quadrant of the coordinate plane. On the x-axis, we have the breathability of the types of materials, and then on the y-axis, we have less filtration. So here on the at the origin, here at the origin, we have no mask at all. And obviously, if you're not wearing any mask, you're still going to be spreading disease. You're going to be able to breathe a lot, but you're not going to be filtering out any of the bacteria. As we go up the coordinate spectrum here, you can see that, scarf, 100% cotton, pillowcases, linen, yes, they allow you to breathe and they filter out some of the viruses. But if you look at some of the other materials you could use around the house, for example, an antimicrobial pillowcase, cotton polyester blend t-shirts, tea towels, and then on the top, we have vacuum cleaner bags. And I'm going to give you a word of caution with these. Be careful with what you're using with the vacuum cleaner bags. Some vacuum cleaner bags have bits of fiberglass in them, which you don't want into your lungs. So if you are going to use one of those, while they don't breathe as much, while they don't, they filter out a lot more than some of the other materials, you want to layer that with types of cotton so you don't get the fiberglass particles in your lungs. Also keep in mind, you want something that can allow you to breathe, because if you're constantly taking off your mask to talk or to breathe, then in essence, why wear a mask at all? So keep those two things in mind. Surgical masks, obviously, they have both breathability and the filtration part of it, but leave those for the people who actually need it. So of all these materials, regardless of what you use, one thing that we've come across in our own research is that you want layers. So typically 3 or 4 layers with something like such as a vacuum cleaner bag in between those layers works best.
And as we mentioned in our previous slide, we said that cloth only has 3% of protection. But if you're going to use different layers of the mask, then you are going to increase this prevention rate. And it's going to be really important to use it outside of your house. And maybe the other thing is, as Mr. Chris has mentioned, once you wear the mask, you shouldn't touch your mask or face anymore. Because if you're going to touch your mask or face again, you can contaminate yourself. That's why we know that it's very uncomfortable to put mask on yourself, but always keep it in your mind. Once you put it on, don't touch it unless you come home and dispose it carefully.
The final conclusions. Wearing a mask as a symbol of social solidarity. So wearing a mask can be compared to safe driving. Other road users and pedestrians benefit from safe driving, and if all drive carefully, the risk of road traffic crashes is reduced. And this is true for wearing a mask as well.
And as Mr. Chris mentioned, if we all wear masks, then the prevention rate is going to increase. If 2 people are together and one is wearing mask, the other is not wearing mask, the protection rate is only 3%. But if you wear mask with different layers, then you can increase the prevention rate up to 50%. And it's really important. And the other important thing is, there's a psychological effect of the wearing mask as well, because when people wear masks, they think that, okay, we wear mask now, we are protected, then we can do whatever we want. Actually, it's not true. What you need to do is, there are 3 important things to do when you're in public. First, social distancing. You need to put at least 2 meters in between with the other people in front of you or behind you. Second, you need to wash your hands 20 seconds, again and again, outside and inside of your house. And the third one is wearing masks. None of them is not enough alone. Then if you are going to do all those 3 precautions together, then you are going to be protected. And the other thing is, researchers encourage to use masks during the coming phases of COVID-19 pandemic, which are expected to occur in the absence of an effective COVID-19 vaccine. Which means that once the vaccine is going to be invented, is going to be found, then hopefully we are going to be all safe and we are not going to have to do those precautions.
One final note is that while you might be asymptomatic, you might not be demonstrating, especially being young people, you might not demonstrate signs of sickness. You might not have a cough or a runny nose or a fever, but you can still be carrying the disease and the virus, and therefore spread it to people who are more vulnerable. So social distancing, washing your hands, wearing a mask, that might not necessarily be preventing you from catching it, but it's more of a social thank you to other people around you, saying, I'm going to do this to make sure that if I am carrying it, I'm not harming you or endangering you.
And as Mr. Chris has mentioned, it's more than self-protection. Actually, it's a society protection, public protection. And it involves every citizen, everybody inside and outside of the country, actually. And it's kind of a symbol of a social solidarity in all around the world. And we can only go through this together by obeying all the necessary rules.
Wonderful. So we want to play a quick video for you of the Dr. Jerome Adams, who is the U.S. Surgeon General. So it should only take a couple seconds, so stay and watch this.
Here's how you can make your own face covering in a few easy steps with items you can find around the house, like an old scarf, a bandana or a hand towel, or you can make a face covering out of an old t-shirt. Fold it to the middle from the bottom, fold it to the middle from the top, fold it again to the middle from the bottom, and again from the top, and then 2 rubber bands, one on one side and one on the other side. Then you fold either side to the middle and you have yourself cloth face covering. It's that easy.
And finally, the nano test answer is if your fingernail grows 1 nanometer a second, how long will it take to grow 1 millimeter? About 11.6 days.
And it's how the nanometer is, how small the nanometer is.
Awesome. So our challenge to you is to create your own face mask, your own cloth face mask. And as we said before, you can get as creative as if you have a sewing machine, you can get as creative as you want, or like in the video, it's as simple as a piece of cloth, which you can use an old t-shirt, like an old King's Academy t-shirt, and a couple of rubber bands.
And we would like to, after you design your own mask, actually in our resources, we are going to put some other resources, some other videos on how to do your own mask at home. There are different types of masks, like where you can sew or which the easy one, like we have shown in the video. And we want you to share those the photos of those masks by using COVID-19 KA hashtag. You can share it through Instagram, through Twitter or Facebook by using this hashtag, and by that way we can see what we have done after our presentation.
Finally, some discussion questions. So in the discussion section below, we want you to answer some of these questions. Have you changed your way of thinking after watching our presentation?
Based on the information in this presentation, are masks effective?
You're wearing masks trump social distancing precautions, i.e. you still have to distance yourself if you're wearing a mask.
Do you need to wear masks at your house, around your family, and at any family gatherings?
And in general, should people wear masks?
Should people who choose not to wear masks be fined or not allowed in public areas?
So, yeah, please answer those in the discussion section below, and we'll get back to you as well.
Here are the references that we have used.
Thank you very much. Once again, those are email addresses if you want to contact us at any time with questions.
Thank you very much.